Hi everyone, this is Kelly from The Truth and Story, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Santa Muerte tarot, which Book of the Dead, and this is a Los Scarabeo deck that has been recently put out with a little bit of a rocky start, where I think a lot of people, there's another edition that has it's got a coffin-shaped box. I'm not sure if there's any other differences between this and that other than the coffin-shaped box, but it has a coffin-shaped box, and it is both put out by Los Scarabeo, and there were some problems with cancellations, problems with getting put out. People are still having difficulties finding them that have pre-ordered it, still haven't gotten their decks. I just happened to, I got a I got money put onto my Amazon account because of a Kindle issue. If you bought books at a certain time period, you got a credit put onto your Amazon. So I got like a $33 credit, and so when I saw that, I was like, oh, I'm gonna just see if this is out yet, because it just wasn't out and people weren't able to get a hold of it. I checked the stores around me and looked, and lo and behold, Amazon all of a sudden did have it. So I ordered it, but I figured that it wasn't actually going to come. I thought I was going to get a message saying it actually wasn't going to be shipped, but it did, and it got here in its normal 2 days, and I do have it, and I'm really excited about it. I have already taken a peek at it, and I really like what I see. So this is, the artwork here is by Fabio Listrani, and it's a 78 card deck, of course, and it has, I like these Los Scarabeo boxes that are like this. They sit up really nice on your shelf, and I just really like these boxes that they're doing here with Los Scarabeo. On the back it says Momento Vivere. I'm sure I'm again slaughtering that, but this is obviously based off of Santa Muerte, as well as I think it's intended to also have some connection with the Day of the Dead. So the Day of the Dead is celebrated from October 31st through November 2nd. I am pretty 99.9% sure. And it's a time to honor, because this is a time in which the veil is thinner, and we see that in many different cultures. We'll see that. We see that on the Wheel of the Year with Samhain. We see that in Day of the Dead, that idea of this being a time in which the veil is thinner, and so a time to honor and speak to those that have passed on. So there's a little bit, some influence of that apparently in this as well, but it is primarily based off of Santa Muerte, which is the Our Lady of the Holy Death, also just translated exactly as Sacred Death or Holy Death. But what's wonderful is that she's actually associated, the lady is actually associated with healing, protection, and a safe delivery into the afterlife. She's not the Grim Reaper here. I've done some research and pulled some things together from just doing a cursory look into, so I have a little bit more understanding of it. I knew that it was associated with the Day of the Dead, but I wasn't sure exactly who she was, and I really have been fascinated. For English, they do say Sacred Death or Holy Death are probably the closest, but she has lots of different names. Here's some of the ones: the Skinny Lady, the Bony Lady, the White Girl, the White Sister, the Pretty Girl, the Powerful Lady, and the Godmother, and then a whole bunch of other ones there. But she is not actually seemed as a dead human being. I mean, she is the lady, and she again is associated with healing, protection, financial well-being, and these types of things. Now, I think that the idea of Santa Muerte has definitely gotten a sort of gang influence, or it's gotten associated with gang violence and things of that nature, because of, and it does talk about this in a couple places that I found, just because they happen to, there have been a lot of gangs and things that have you know, that do worship her or do have her use her emblem and things for protection and all this other kind of thing. But that's something that has been layered on, right? That's just somebody who is incorporated. You don't then discount the source because somebody has taken and used that particular imagery or iconography. So that is definitely there. She's actually the only female saint of death in either North or South America, which I thought was pretty neat as well, or powerful. She, you know, I love to see things that go along. Apparently you often see her with a globe and a scythe. We do see her with a scythe here. She looks more pregnant than having a globe here because we've got the cradle down here. But we do see the scythe here, but apparently she's often seen with, so I'm going to kind of watch for that in the images. She also can be seen with scales. That has to do with equality, equity, justice, and impartiality. An hourglass for that sort of idea of the time, and that death is not an end, that you can just invert it and it starts over again. I love that idea of the hourglass there. And she also, sometimes with an owl, because it can navigate darkness, which is wonderful. She's also obviously a messenger. And then often a lamp for intelligence. It's really beautiful. There's a lot of different things to do with color. If you watch the color of the clothes that she is in, that has different representations of what she can be, sort of, you can come to her for. White being the most common. I do definitely see white in here. You see red. White is for purity and gratitude and actually cleansing negativity. Red is for passion and love and these kinds of things. Gold for money. Green for justice. A dark yellow ambery color for health. Black for protection. Blue they had for wisdom. And I think purple was for healing, I know. Although I did see a couple that did some of the colors differently. So you definitely want to pay attention. And they will light different candles, those different colored candles, depending on how you are approaching her or not approaching her. Or how it would be not if you're lighting candles. So you light the different colored candles depending on what it is that you are. Although some, of course, will have all of the colors. And there are candles that have all of the colors as well. So I just thought it was really beautiful just to read a little bit about her, and especially the idea where I think that we look at things in a modern sense and we think, oh, she's the Grim Reaper, she's something negative, that she's the you know, more of that literal, you know, Lady of Death who's come to steal your souls in the dark of the night and eat your children, you know, that kind of thing, versus one that is actually there representing the idea of coming forth, healing and protection, and an understanding that the death is just a continuation. It's just another side of life, and it's all this kind of cycle that we're in. So I think that's really neat. So I was quite intrigued with being able to do a little bit of research today about this lovely lady. So of course, in terms of the deck, we have again a beautiful, I do have a little bit of a bash here because it just came in a bag. I wish they would send them in a box. So even boxes, sometimes you get those bashes, but I'm not going to be too picky. It's a sturdy box, so you know, these kind of dings and corner smashings, that takes quite a bit of force in my opinion, because this is quite a nice and sturdy box. So they come in the deck box like this. I've taken, these do come, the whole thing was shrink wrapped and the cards were shrink wrapped, but I took them out obviously. And then it comes with a color guidebook, which is of course in multiple language. So in terms of English, let's see how many pages we have. That is not English. 53 pages are English and the rest are not. So it looks like when you pull it out, you think, oh, it's a nice little chunky book, but actually, you know, you're just getting about 50 some pages here. It does have one reading, which has you divide the deck up. We'll take a look at after we look through the cards, the Ouija Oracle of the Dead. But each of the cards. It doesn't have any particular image, doesn't have images themselves. It has the number, it has a description of the card, and then it has advice of the dead. It doesn't seem to me, from what I have read, a few of these, that it doesn't refer to the cards themselves. So you don't have any kind of okay, this is there in this way because XYZ, which I quite like when you're using different iconography and things in which the color and such may actually make a difference. I quite like to see the book reference the card. This does not do that, but I do like that there is the advice of the dead, and we'll be paying attention, a little bit more attention to that. So you have a little bit more of a paragraph with the majors and a little bit less with the numbers, but not by a lot. So so you have that going all the way through, and then the one spread in the guidebook. So, you know, it's okay. It's not anything to get too excited about in terms of the book. The cardstock is Los Scarabeo. I like Los Scarabeo. This is a slightly glossy. There is definitely a little bit of a shimmer, but it's not high gloss. I really think that the backs are gorgeous. Again, you're going to probably see a lot of sugar skulls there, which is associated with Day of the Dead as well. I really like the backs. I think they're really beautiful. They are definitely reversible, which is beautiful. And so we have here Santa Muerte Tarot, Book of the Dead by Fabio Lestrani here. And then we get to the cards themselves. You can see that they have this half border. So where on here on the back we have, you know, this kind of partial border on both sides. On the actual cards themselves, we have a half border, and then the rest is borderless. I actually quite like it. I think it's just something different, and I really like the look of it, to be honest. I'm a fan of it. So let's go ahead and zoom in size wise. I mean, I don't have, let's see, they don't seem as skinny as, you know, sometimes Los Scarabeos are slightly thinner, which these are not. It is the same exact size as the Fountain Tarot. In Darkness of Light is a standard tarot size. You know, it's really pretty standard. This is, you know, the Pagan Other Worlds is larger deck anyways, but I would just consider this to be a standard tarot deck size here. That back over here, and let's zoom in so we can take a look at the cards. There is a little bit, I had read somewhere that somebody was concerned that there were kind of a lot of gangster imagery. I really didn't find that. I found more of a bandito, which you kind of see a little bit more with Day of the Dead imagery and things of that nature. There's a couple of movies that I've seen, like cartoon style movies that I love, a little bit newer ones. I can't remember the name of the most recent one, but it's more of that bandito style. But there's not really that much from the quick walkthrough. Now, I haven't gone through carefully, so we're going to find that out together. But I didn't get that as overwhelming that it had a lot of that type of imagery. So here we have the Fool. Now let's just take a look at the guidebook on the Fool here. But you'll see I don't think it really references much. The Fool, whether it be the beginning or the end of a new project or a journey, what the Fool brings with him is a great flood of energy, a feeling of lightness and novelty. The road on which he finds himself, whether going towards or moving away from something, can be seen as an escape or as a liberation. It is nevertheless always illuminated by intuition and perspicacity, which is intuitive insight. If we're in the middle of a problem or a negative moment, this is because the card can bring with it as baggage things like chaos, impulsiveness, indecision, and can lead to irrational choices, incoherence, or the flightiness of a butterfly. This can also be transformative. So here we obviously have a skeleton, because that's what we're going to have. I'm sorry, Isabel is all geared up here. I'll give her a moment. She's bringing some chaos with her. So I do like we have a lot of things going on with this bag. We do see a guitar here. We do see what probably is maybe the butt of a rifle, because he can bring a little bit of chaos, and he, you know, it looks like in real life he might have been a bandito. We see the graveyard, you know, he's kind of in a graveyard, but I love the sun beaming up here. So instead of mountains, we sort of have graves here, but we have the sun shining in right at the circle of the sun. We have the butterfly here, but all in all, he seems like he's going off on an adventure here. I think he works quite well. But you can see that this doesn't really say anything about what we're seeing here, about him being in a graveyard or what he's got in his bag. Nothing like that is going to be given to you, so you're really going to rely on standard meanings of the cards, as well as then what you see in the image itself. Here we have the Magician. Oh wait, I want to go back here for a minute, because there is the message of the advice of the dead. Continue along your road having focused on your objectives. Often traveling lightly and freeing yourself from some baggage can help to channel your energies better. So he might need to drop some of this baggage, right, in order to go about his journey a little bit more light. So I do like that. So here we have the Magician. Again, pretty standard definition of the Magician. Well written, but, you know, nothing really coming specifically about Santa Muerte or the Day of the Dead. It's just sort of a meaning of the Magician. The advice of the dead is do not waste time, act. You can trust your own abilities without delay, but carefully evaluate where you aim your potential and the object of your choices. So we have this advice here, but again, none of it's specific to the sort of theme or overlayer of this deck, which I would have liked a little bit more specific about the images themselves. But I like, there we've got the crystal ball here. We do have the wand here. We do have fire. We do have a cup as well. Do we have any kind of a sword? I like the hand here with the seeing eye. I don't see a sword, but that doesn't mean it's not there. Or a knife of some sort. Oh wait, oh yeah, there's a knife right there. So yeah, you have all the elements there, as you do. I think this is really beautiful, High Priestess. I mean, look at that. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm picking it up when I have it zoomed in. I think this is a gorgeous. This is one of my favorites. I think the moon is also really one of my favorites. But this is gorgeous. Again, quite traditional. You've got the crescent moon. You've got the foot on the crescent moon. You've got the beautiful cloth here with sort of maybe an Aztec style printing here. You've got the book. You've got double rings going on here. She's on a throne almost of blades, but it's pretty awesome. The flowers that are left here, again, the candles. It's really gorgeous. I think this is a beautiful High Priestess card. So do I love the Empress. She is dressed in primarily red, which is for love and passion. We do have hearts here. We just have an abundance. Definitely, again, very traditional. We have an abundance of growth here. We see creation. We see life. We see bounty, which is beautiful. I love the use of the fan. It's just a beautiful card. This is the only one that I had, or there's maybe one other, but I think this is the only one. I just wish, you know, do we have to have a machine gun here? Again, we've got this, the clothing of that old style bandito, and I may be using that term wrong, but that's kind of what you get out of like movies and things of that nature. But you've got a little bit of that in creating. Now, but in all fairness, right, what do we normally see in an emperor? We see an emperor in his armor. Now, armor is not something that you put on to sit around on your throne, right? Armor is that representation of war. It is a representation. You don't wear armor when you're not going off to battle, especially these full knight suits of armor and chainmail that we often see on the emperor, nearly always see on the emperor. not always, but a lot of the times, that is representing that sometimes the degree of force is needed in order to create control of the environment. And so obviously in this culture, they wouldn't be wearing suits of armor, but so they have the gun here. That's the only one that I wished was some, either that or I just wish it was a rifle. I think there's another one where this is more of a rifle rather than this like a machine gunny looking thing, but I still think he's pretty cool looking. I think it goes really beautifully with the Empress, and you can still kind of go with that idea of that part of the Emperor that is some degree of control and force, and you can also look to the shadow side of the Emperor that way. So I like that we have the mirrored growth here. Really, this image continues. If you look at that. I just noticed that, but look at the skull. Face in the background, you can see her dress is going over into the Emperor's space. So they are literally sitting side by side. So that's pretty cool. I'll have to see if anything else seems to do that. The Magician and the High Priestess do not seem to coordinate like that. But that's pretty cool. I do like that. Here we have the Hierophant, and he is consulting the dead, right? He's consulting with a Ouija board here. I really do think he looks pretty awesome, though. Again, I love all the use of flowers in this deck. The colors are really vibrant. Even above where it's kind of a night scene, we have these beautiful blue flowers that are above and all of these colorful flowers that are in on the bottom. So I think that those are absolutely gorgeous. And it's just beautiful. He's just pretty cool. He's a pretty cool Hierophant. Here we have the Lover's card, where you can see, often you see three things going on, and I really love, we've got the blues and the blue flower here, we've got the red and the red flowers here, we have the gold up here, what would normally be an angel with a, up above, or Cupid or something, that we just have this key here with wings, and of course they're holding the heart, which has the lock in it. And so I love that, because you still have the 3 points, which for me is important, because the Lover's card for me is about making choices and decisions that align with your higher self, your conscious self, and your subconscious self. Just being in alignment with the totality of self very often, but making good choices and the right key for the right lock, right? So I think that works really beautiful. Again, I just love the use of color in this deck. Here we have the Chariot. Now, this is where it's so interesting. I would love to just have had more information. There's a couple where I would just like to have had some more information, but we do have sort of a chariot here. I don't see necessarily, almost looks like maybe it's a parade for like the Day of the Dead sort of parade or something of that nature. We have a sugar skull kind of behind the curtain in this chariot or wagon of some sort. We do have multiple people kind of walking, but I would have and it works. I mean, I can just read that as a chariot. It doesn't affect the way that I read it, but just purely out of curiosity, I would have loved just some explanation of what these different things that we see here, and how he's actually, what the artist saw in this image for this. The advice is act and take on with courage the road you have decided to face, while conserving a certain prudence and not letting yourself be overwhelmed by your emotions. Again, real well written when you just read the chariot part. I do like how it's written, but it doesn't address the image whatsoever. So that's kind of, but again, you see the chariot, you see movement, so you can use that as a traditional chariot card. Let me flip this back over here. And I don't see that necessarily can, I'm just kind of watching to see if anything else sort of connects together like the Emperor and the Empress. Here we have the Strength card. Really cool. Again, I love sort of like these Aztec patterns that we have going on in the background with the bright sun. And we have this really cool sort of monster creature in this background. Again, the face reminds me of what I might have seen in terms of Aztec art, just like this sort of squared face here. Seems like something you would see in sort of Aztec carvings. But it's pretty cool. I don't, you can't necessarily tell whether this is supposed to be male or female, which I guess doesn't matter. But it says a new creative beginning or a new injection of energy will be guaranteed to those who do not renounce the fight and the challenge, carried forward by their own will and embracing their own projects with conviction, courage, sincerity, and ownership. There's no sense in suffocating the animal energy in us, but rather sublimate it, control it with determination, and channel it in the right way. An excess of this could cause arrogance and possessiveness, and in the worst cases, repression, hard-headedness, and egoism, or the contrary when it is absent, staticity, insecurity, and weakness. So I do really like, again, the way that the guidebook talks. It's got some different perspectives here than just, real regurgitated guidebook information. It just doesn't apply to the image. I'm going to try to keep saying it over and over again, but there we have it. But I think it's a beautiful card. Look at the Hermit in the coffin. Take the time necessary for your actions, evaluating what you need to renounce or what you should remove from yourself in order to leave a situation that is placing you in difficulty. Look at that. But the light still shines even in the coffin. Again, can you still see there's beautiful, in the deep shadows here are still flowers. There's just flowers everywhere. In fact, I think this might be the first card that doesn't have any flowers in them, and you still are seeing flower petals thrown there. But every other card so far has had flowers in some degree. Kind of, it looks like a flower petal on the head as well. And you can see those beautifully done in the shadows. So even the earth is made out of flowers here. I think this is a gorgeous Wheel of Fortune for this particular deck. I love that you have this is what I see here, because you definitely can see hair here. She's got white hair and a black cloak. She has black hair and the white dress. And as I was saying, the black would be for protection. And the white is that idea of positive energy and cleansing and clearing negative space. And then you have the protection here. And you've got this balanced wheel. I just think it's gorgeous. You've got the hourglass here. Obviously, you have the scythes here. You do have some butterflies. You've got some bugs, but I'm choosing to ignore any bugs besides butterflies. You've got flowers and grasses and things going on. It's really beautiful. Again, flower petals. That's not blood. Those are flower petals. But I love that two side. To me, that brings about, and again, with the hourglass, like we saw, which it looks to be actually built into the scythe, and that understanding that, when time runs out, it just turns over again, and that life is this continual cycle, and death is part of that cycle, and what goes on afterwards. We're just moving into another phase. But this is a gorgeous card. This is definitely what I would say is digital art, but I think he does a really good job at it. Here we have Justice, Scales, we have the Scythe, we have, again, the black cloak of protection, which I almost feel like you have the idea of protecting justice. And I like the Scythe here even works, that idea of cutting through, right, cutting through emotion and seeing into the kind of truth of things and the facts of things. Really beautiful. I quite like that. This one I thought was pretty, this to me was a little tongue-in-cheek, because Here we have the Hanged Man holding his own, you know, hangman noose, right? He's holding his head detached from his body. So again, though, I love the sun sort of on the forehead, that idea of there's some difficult situation. We have a storm going on, but we have the lily here where you need the muck and the mire in order to have the flower growing here of the lily. There's a lot of connotations here, gaining some new perspective, gaining some clarity, maybe detaching from the physicality of life so that you can really sink into that mental space in which you need to gain new perspectives. I quite like this one. It definitely makes me smile. And of course, this is the image that we see on the box. So instead of death, we have Santa Muerte, Our Lady, here on this, and we actually have the pregnancy that is here, the sun that's shining here, we have the cradle here. Yes, there is death and life is this, again, this kind of ever-moving cycle, and I think it's really beautiful. We have the red here with the love, we have the blue robes, also on the outside, which I saw in two ways. The blue I saw is about wisdom and learning, and then I also saw blue, I can't find it at the moment. I saw blue also with something a little bit different, but I can't find it that quickly. But it's quite beautiful, and a little bit, you do often see blue robes, of course, on the Virgin Mary, so there's a little bit of a combination of that, and again with the child and everything, but I think it's gorgeous, and I like it. Look at Temperance. How beautiful is this? Definitely Aztec, you know, not runes, but, you know, buildings that we see in Aztec ruins. The water is still here. I like the droplets of water here. She's mixing, you know, very similar image that we're used to. We do have some cactuses here. Again, flowers, flowers everywhere. Beautiful sky, beautiful sun coming up over the head. Things are in balance and in harmony. I think that's really gorgeous. Devil here. I love the little banditos. And I say that again, this is not my culture, and I don't say that. Hopefully that is not, you know, the wrong term. But you always see these sombrero guys. Now they've got their guitars, and they're down here, you know, reading of the book and singing their songs and things. Really interesting. Again, you have a very sort of traditional devil head that you would see. Lots of red color and red flowers and green below. Here, let's see what they say for the devil card. Creativity and passion at its highest point. The devil is the source from where we attain will, audacity, and charisma into the profound depths of the psyche and human subconsciousness. It pushes us to realize and liberate our true nature by encountering successes, contracts, and solid, lasting targets. When the situation, however, is in the negative, this could become a synonym of arrogance, possessiveness, and dependency, creating suffocating and binding ties like the strings of a puppeteer holds in his hands. Has he got strings on them? Oh, he does. He's got puppet strings. That's pretty cool. Do you want to rule your own choices, or are you going to abdicate those choices to other and just be a puppet? That's pretty cool. Free yourself. The advice from the dead is free yourself from what you think you are tied to and become who you really are, following your instinct and your inner fire without giving in to flattery and properly evaluating the dangers that surround you. That's pretty cool. I do like the puppeteer thing going on there. Pretty cool. Look at this tower. This is really kind of a weird, almost like an optical illusion going on. Something that you have been opposed to for probably a long time is about to emerge, explode, and open itself to the world. The tower, therefore, is a living construction, overcrowded and teeming, exposed due to a sudden change that will alter the balances, and whose orientations and directions, therefore, could seem to become confused or overturned. It is very confused here. It could be difficult to go against the current and against common opinion, but this is how illumination will arrive. Otherwise, it will be a violent separation that will win, an expulsion that will bring with it a crisis, unbalance, and in the worst case is a true catastrophe. Destroy old structures and superficial structures without fear, and those that have become over time a prison, and liberate the energies that were included. I love that. I really like the guidebook. You know, my only criticism is I wish it talked directly about the cards, but I quite like their descriptions. You know, it almost does have this sort of such in and out and coloration changes and perspective changes until it becomes this sort of fun house that you're trapped in. And so you've got to cut away all of those trappings so that you can get some clarity, right? Because that's very unclear and muddled. Beautiful. Look at that. Do you not love the Star card? I love the Star card. Again, we've got the lily floating here, but you can actually see all the way down to the bottom, you know, where you see the top and the bottom of the lilies. Love that. I think this is absolutely gorgeous Star card. She's immersed, like she's halfway into the water, but her feet are on ground. I think it's beautiful. Definitely, again, Aztec influences in the headdress. And I love the Moon card. Again with the beautiful lilies, again with the flowers. We have her looking into the water and seeing this other aspect of herself. It's just another aspect. It's not something to be feared. Look at how beautiful that is. You could even think, you know, that she's praying, right, to the lady for protection or for whatever she's praying for. And sort of seeing that reflection back as well. And look at the reflection of the moon. I think it's beautiful. I really like it. And here's the sun. Now, you all know who follow me that I don't generally like faces and suns, but I quite like this one. And what I love is that here in the Devil card, we have these two guys, right, as puppets, but they have been released of their puppets and now kind of walking on their own confidences. And what the sun is about happiness for me, that comes from having mastered our own will and being confident in that, or our own will. And so to have these guys who were on puppet strings now on their own, I think is really cool. Love it. I also love the skulls and the sunflowers. Again, you can see a lot of Rider-Waite influences, but then he's kind of done his thing on it. I quite love that. Judgment is so interesting, right? We've got this whole family here who are honoring. I guess I would see this as sort of that real kind of connection to the Day of the Dead. They're definitely honoring. We've got the dead rising, as we often do. Jubilant, though. Even the angel here, or it looks more like a bird, but kind of reminiscent of the angel that we see in the Judgment card. We have there as a skeleton. This one is pretty cool. Let's see what it says. The master of the four elements, judgment calls from above in a loud voice, a powerful and important renewal, the birth of a new conscious, a new family, a reawakening, and the liberation of something that we kept closed and isolated. This card represents a call to express our vocation, but also to discover, to evaluate, or to be evaluated and judged. When the negative side prevails, it will bring about consequences such as fear of failure, infantile behavior, crisis, and insecurities that will tempt us to remain closed within the coffin which we are called upon to leave. I quite like that. Again, I really do like, because this is an assessment card for me, so it's a personal assessment card. I do quite like the write-ups in the book. I think it's cool. And then that brings us to the World card, which we have the lady here in her full white with the hourglass, with the scythe here, which are quite obviously what they're containing. Look at all of the colors. We have the yellow, we have red, we have blue, and we have greens, which I'm assuming are the colors that we are going to see in the four elements, right? So here we have the yellows. Again, we have kind of reds, we have blues, and we have greens. So we've got all four elements in balance. I love that she's literally sitting on a globe, like a globe that you would have in a big library, which is awesome. So I think that's gorgeous. I really like that you're pulling in the World card the four elements of the suits together, which I think is really cool. So there you go. That is the major arcana. So I haven't done this for a while. I stopped doing this. I don't know why. But let's look at the 4 aces here. You can definitely see the color tones. You see all the blues, and then we go into the greens here. So you can definitely see the color tones of the minors, which is something I particularly love in decks. Here we have the greens and the pentacles, and some yellow, you know, golden greens here. You can see that the eye sockets, whoops, so far, you can see the hearts, which are associated, you know, obviously with the playing cards. You really see it in the swords too. I wish it was a little bit stronger. These look more like diamonds, but they are more 5-sided here with the pentacles to be more like coins. And then we have flowers in the wands suit here, but you have the reds of fire, and then you have sort of gold tones, yellow, which is very typical, and this is how the color association I use for air is yellow. And you have a single eye, and I think that carries even into the king. You have the spade. So I wish that these two had that more really strong playing card association as you have with these two. That would be my one quibble, that it would go across all of them, but you know, it is what it is. Pretty cool. You definitely see a lot of this centipede throughout the deck. We saw it in quite a few of the cards as well. In the major arcana, you see that centipede quite a bit as well. So there we have that. So let me put these back how I like to do: fire, air, water, and earth. So we'll just put it back there and zoom back in. So now we have, of course, the minors, the suit of wands. Again, very heavy toned here with reds. You know, here we've got that, again, that sort of bandit style with the face covered mask and the sombrero and the revolvers. This I quite, you know, I like that a little bit more than the sort of machine gun of the emperor. So he's got to kind of plan his course of action here, I suppose. Let's just do one quick one of the minors just so we can see how those. So pentacles or money. It has pentacles set up as money. I will say it's a little hard when you're going through, because if you don't, chalices, emotion, love. Within here, like other than the first thing where it says chalices, you don't, well, there's ace of chalice, but the rest don't really say 2 of cups, 3 of cups. So if you're just skimming through here trying to figure out which one you're in is a little bit difficult. Pentacles, money, material center, to live, earth. So it's got some keywords for the suit. Wands are creative, sexual center, to do, flame. So they do give you a little bit of information about what each of the elements represent, which I quite like. The 2 of Wands presents as a complicated arcana where an accumulation of desires could cause rivalry and cause 2 opposing forces to arise, such as rebelling against limitations imposed by a third party. This card can bring not only regrets with it, but also radical changes, surprises, and positive unexpected events. Evaluate what is the best way in which to act and terminate a situation of conflict and rivalry which makes you restless and unhappy. So you can see that I'm going to have to go to a duel here. A little bit more playing card meanings than you often will see with the 2 of Wands. I think he's pretty cool looking. So here we have the 3 of Wands. Here, Dynamic Arcana. Talks about... I'm definitely interested to kind of watch what they're doing with the minors. These are new undertakings, the beginning of new occasions, new things that are growing here. Proceed with energy towards your new creation. So you see growth going on here, which is the 3 stands for growth for me. Here we have the Four of Wands, which looks quite celebratory. Again, everything is in red for passions here, which would make sense. A particularly creative card, balanced and prosperous. Make the most of this moment of stability to fully enjoy and benefit what you have gained. Yeah, can definitely see that. Here we have the 5 with the match being lit here. 5 is a spark of a new desire prepares to blaze into a new adventure, a new activity, just as something unexpected, blah, blah, blah. Be clear about the actual situation in order to choose the most honest way in which to face a new and brilliant project. Definitely much more focused on creativity. We have that dynamism and energy of the suit here. Commit with boldness and with complete awareness of your gifts and your energy, but control your desire. So definitely, I don't see this as necessarily, that you can see as the Rider-Waite-Smith, right? 5 of Wands, though, you're normally seeing fighting. So it definitely is not just a Rider-Waite-Smith clone here. We can see that in the 6 of Wands with that sort of celebration. Although it's not really talking in the book so much about other people, that sort of acknowledgement of your success that you will see often with the 6 of Wands. This, I think, is gorgeous. Look at that. That is a beautiful card. A moment of a great rush of energy. I'm definitely going to keep the book at hand. I quite like that it seems to be doing it's kind of going off on its own in a way that makes sense with the suit of Wands. With the energy, it's really focusing on energy and creativity and that just powerful forces that I think is really, really quite cool. I like it. That's more of a traditional 8 of Wands. You have got, it talks about the fastest and the most dynamic card of the suit. This is an absolutely favorable moment for a new creation or a new project. Therefore, proceed quickly. I always say it's got to be ready to grab hold, right? That's pretty cool. I like it. We have the 9 of Wands here. Your strength to withstand adversity and your ability to truncate what is clearly useless. Take the situation in hand and with patience, fight for what you wish to attain. Interesting. I don't know if these are like bad things that have grown and she's going to have to cut them down so the rest of the garden can grow better. I'm not entirely sure, but I quite like the write-up here. She's holding her ground. She definitely is in that posture of ready to fight for what it is she wants. And then we have the 10s. Now the 10s are some of those that are I have heard people mention that they didn't quite like how the 10s were done in this. I think it's wonderful. And it even says here for the 10 of Wands, the transformation is now complete. And the new being that has been created is ready to fly. You've gone through all of this work with this creative process, and now it's been fully transformed. And you see this moth, butterfly imagery in every one of the 10s. And I love that because for me, the 10s are that sense of completion. It is that sense of coming full circle that you would think of with a moth or a butterfly. And I think that's really cool. And then we have, of course, the court cards where we have a page here, an arcana of continual movement or a messenger. We have, of course, the knight, to strength and determination and movement, drive forward like we think of with the Knight of Wands. We have the Queen. She represents a person who's very dynamic and energetic, projected towards success and capable of optimal and generous advice. And then we have the King here. I think that's really cool. I like that suit. Definitely strays from the Rider-Waite-Smith, but I like what they're doing with it. Really focusing on the energy of fire here. And I'm really a fan of these. I'm going to keep those kind of upwards. I'm keeping these separated off because the reading that we're going to do requires the suits to stay separate. So that brings us to the Swords, which you know is one of my favorite suits. This is the intellectual center. It is to be. It is air. So let's see how that carries through. I love the scissors. Can we just say, I don't even care what it's supposed to mean. I just love the use of these scissors. I would love a pair of scissors that look like that. Evaluate and choose carefully the direction in which you wish to channel your... oh, that's a different one. The moment at hand seems particularly difficult. Something is not working, as if the two blades are working against each other instead of collaborating like they should with scissors. This pushes for these to include separating. So this pushes, don't use scissors that are blades that are meant to work together versus swords that are meant to be in conflict. I like that. I just love scissors. This one is quite interesting, right? Here is a 3 of Swords. Now, we do have that sense of stabbing here, but you could look at this in various ways, as it's time to kind of pull the swords out so that you can move forward. There's a variety of ways you could read this. New ideas and new strategies that are, for the most part, could work against us, stabbing us in the back, but a careful analysis of the various contrasting situations with consequent selection and removal can help with the destiny of this card. So it's about rationally thinking about the things and what. So he's literally getting purchase here so that he can pull those swords out. So it's like the time for those to be in is done. You've learned something from the situation. Now let's pull those out so you can move forward and have the growth that the 3 speaks to me of. So I think I really do like this. These little like cyclops with the spades, I think are pretty cool. Here we have the 4 of Swords. Again, stable, balance, take that break, take a time of isolation so that you can come back into the battle. I do quite like it. Of course, we see the coffin here. Makes sense. You can see the flowers here as well as on the top of the skull. Here we have the 5 of Swords. Now this one is, more of that conflict number, right? Inner conflict is afflicting us and makes us feel humiliated. So we definitely have the conflict card. 5s are disruptive, so we have a disruption of the mind going on in this particular card. I love this one. I just love the water. I love the dual tone of the sky. Again, the flowers are still here. This almost looks like the guy from the Hermit. Let's see, definitely has that long beard and things hanging off of his sombrero. Of course, that is kind of common with sombreros, so I don't know if he's meant to be the same one, but I think that's pretty cool. It's time to this is a pretty typical Rider-Waite-Smith Swords card. Look at this one, though. The 7 of Swords is a card I'm always been very interested in. But I really like what they did here, because you kind of, you had the conflict in the 5, and then the 6, it's like it's time to move away from this, and now it's time for reflection and to evaluate and think about. We have hope, the word hope, and the word reflection here, spelled interestingly. But I quite like that. I like that progression here, and it makes sense to me numerologically as well. If we take that time to reflect on a situation that we have just kind of moved away from, that is going to give us that new growth that can often come with the 7s. So I really like that. Here we have the 8. This is the quiet before the storm. Do not be afraid, even if it's necessary, to reconsider your ideas, the commitments undertaken or choices made, if they are causing a continual internal storm. Don't be afraid to reconsider and change your way of thinking if it's not working for you. I like it. Look at the 9. With the 9 of Swords, we have the preconditions for a possible crisis due to a period of enclosure and isolation that we saw with the 8. So but are we going to learn something, right? And instead of maybe just reacting in the nightmare card that we see, instead of reacting hastily and just reacting in fear, are we going to learn something and be calm and steady in our learning of it? And that's what's going to lead then, right, to the chrysalis. The moth is now complete, evolved, and able to hang from a height to have total and impartial view. Look at that. I like that. I like the progression of the suits. You can definitely see Rider-Waite-Smith, but it is definitely not what I would consider to be a clone. Here we have the page. He's learning. He's got his scroll there. We have the knight being a little bit of a show-off and putting a sword down his throat. He is the master of himself. The master of the sword wielding is your intellect. He's mastered that to the point where he's totally swallowed it. Here we have the Queen of Swords, which is obviously my card, which I love. An ideal of wisdom, intelligence, and brilliance matured from delusions, privations, or from problems that were dealt with. That is where her power resides. On her shoulders rests the heavy weight of those experiences that has served to enrich her and not as a motive for vendetta or wickedness. Love that. I really do like this deck a lot. I'm quite pleased with this. And then here's the king. Love the etchings on the sword. Love it. Love it. Love it. So there we have the swords. Next we have the cups. Again, love. I wish that they were all so clearly connected with the playing card suits, because I do see a little bit of blend here, even in these meanings of playing cartomancy maybe pulled in as well. But again, we see the beautiful blues, the dragonfly, lotus here, the ace. Look at this. I mean, this to me, I mean, obviously it's digital art, which isn't my favorite thing in the world, but I love this. I love the waters kind of being poured and shared between the two of them. I think it's cool. Love it. Let me go to the cups, which I think were the first suit. To love is the action of this suit. Here we have the Three of Cups, the dynamic nature of the number 3. They are really doing well, I think, in terms of looking at the numerology, which is important to me. Right, but we see again celebration like we normally see. I do love that. I like that there's males and females there as well. Look at the 4. Now that's a little, I wish it wasn't so Rider-Waite-Smith. But it does talk about how the number of stability united with the suit of emotions bring an excess of security and a monotony. So it's calling you to make sure that you balance things. You want that stability, but you don't want it to turn into boredom. So, you know, I get that. You know, again, I just wish they just deviated from the Rider-Waite-Smith entirely there, or just, you know. That's just personal preference, but I do get that idea, and I think that there's a bit of a warning that's always inherently there. I do like how they describe it. Well, look at how interesting this is. This is an introspection into the labyrinth of our emotions. How cool is that? You know, because the 5 of Cups is disruption of emotions. And so we have this labyrinth literally carved into the skull here. Now this one does actually use the word labyrinth, which again is probably one of the first things I've seen really directly saying something that's in the actual card. It's a period of reflection and solitude that could bring us to reconciliation. I think that's really beautiful representation of the 5 of Cups. I love it. Here we have the 6 of Cups. Balance is precarious. Here we have the 7 of Cups, which generally have all kinds of things in it. The 7 of Chalices as the level implies. So it's talking about we're moving up this level in emotions. Itself is particularly active. This is a card of hope, energy, and new creative and artistic projects, right? But making sure, obviously, you're choosing the right project. I quite like this deck. I really like this deck. Here is the 8 of Cups, a new moment of balance. Look at how beautiful that is. That's actually really gorgeous. This is a precarious stability. If not faced in a serene and satisfying way, may mutate into a difficult situation that can be really restrictive with the eights. Look at that. That's really cool. I actually really like that. Now, the Eight of Cups, you generally have that going off on a journey, right? But it's an introspection. It's going inward. Because she looks very introspective. I think that's a gorgeous card. Here we have the Nine of Cups. Takes us far away through a slow and wave-like movement, similar to that of the sea, to maternity or to gaining emotional happiness or an ideal. Only by throwing an anchor and stopping this can the propositional push of this arcana be altered, because we're moving towards good things with the Nine of Cups. And then bam, we have the gorgeous transformation is complete. I love the tens in this deck. Absolutely love the tens in this deck. Look at that. Looks like a rib cage here. It's gorgeous. And then we have the, of course, the Page of Cups. The Knight of Cups definitely looks like he's riding off to find his version of the Holy Grail. We have, look at the Queen of Cups offering the heart. Favorable energy of this, which this suit is a part. It's beautiful. And then we have the King of Cups. He has no problem drinking from his emotions. Love it. Love it. Love it. I really like this deck. Here we have again, finally, then we have the Pentacles is to live. This is the Earth. And so here we have the Ace. Love this card. I think this is really gorgeous. Two aspects of the same thing that once united will be ready to fly. See, look, it takes both of those coming together in balance that would allow that to actually fly. I think that's a gorgeous card. Look at this. I love this Three of Pentacles, watering the seeds for that growth. Love it. Love it. Now, look at this. Here we have, obviously, Santa Muerte here. Let's see what if it says anything. The stability of the Four gives this card a positive balance, and we can talk about savings as well as generosity. Yeah, she's like apparently blessing. It's like she's putting him down maybe into the bank, into that wealth, because you can go, and she's got kind of gold coins around her head, because you can go to her with the color of green and going to the lady for prosperity, and she's setting him down in front of a bank. Look at that one. Five of Pentacles is an active, dynamic card that announces step by step the positive evolution towards the future and the discovery of new interests. An excess, though, and a velocity in moving about could, however, make the situation too fluid and unstable, causing worries and disorder to appear. So you've got to step carefully. But with calm and thorough, concrete, and objective evaluation, we can go ahead, overcoming any crisis on our way. That's pretty cool. Look at the clock here. Look at the skull with the wings. That's really cool. 6, we are in the present but in front of a precarious equilibrium, an alternation that swings like a pendulum. See, some of these are starting to kind of talk a little bit about that, which you didn't really see in the majors. It will be time, fluid and unilateral, never stopping, that will make the situation evolve. It's just time. We've got to wait. Proceed with audacity and without haste, working hard. Keep yourself focused. What you desire will arrive when the time is ripe. Time. I would have thought that maybe more with the 7s. Let's see what they say with the 7s. Our ideas have entered the world successfully. It's definitely doing that sort of movement of numbers through that whole process, which I quite like. Our ideas have entered the world successfully, and we can concretely evaluate and count what we have earned, won, or it's like the, what are those called? An abacus. It's a giant abacus here. Things will continue without problem. Just, careful movements. Stay the course. Stay the course. Look at this one. The 8, because look, did you see the 8? Was it in this one? It was so, no, it was the cups. I loved, look at the, look at that 8. I wonder if I didn't notice it in the other ones. Is it a close-up on all the 8s? Nope. You see the wands. Those 2 8s I think are really powerful looking. 7, 8. That's kind of close up there on a skull. Which I guess in that storm cloud in the air, you do have, oh, actually, yeah, look at, that's a close-up of a face, too. And then going into the actual clouds are the skull, look at the teeth. So they're all, the 8s are these close-up versions, are beautiful. Sorry. sorry. But that's, I just think that's gorgeous. 8 of Pentacles brings us an ideal situation of balance. Here we have the 9s. He's literally buried in money and skulls. 9 of Pentacles, we reach maximum expansion. You've kind of gone all the way, and then that's what then brings us to the chrysalis has closed into itself, and a change is now vitally necessary in order to continue and progress. The 10 of Pentacles pushes us to go beyond and fly up and away from the physical world. I love, love, love the moths here, butterfly. I think they're all mostly all moths, except for that looks like a butterfly. We have the page here. Most of the pages do seem to be females. I love the knight. The queen, look at her. She's actually going up there, climbing. She's going to go, pick the apples from the tree. I love it. She's getting in there, does the work that needs to be done. And then here we have the king. I love this deck. I love this deck. But I wanted to, let me zoom back out here. And you can see all of the 10s. I think it's brilliant. It completely works with the way I read the 10s anyways. I really like what they've done. You can certainly see some Rider-Waite-Smith and some direct Rider-Waite-Smith, but it seems to be more focused on that continuum, starting with 1 and of that element, so of emotions or of creativity or of the mind, right, or of the emotions, starting at 1 and seeing this whole progress that leads to transformation. And I love that. Okay. I'm really pleased with this deck. I have to say, I knew I was going to like it, but I have to say I am extra pleased. And I think that definitely keep this guidebook on hand, because there's some different things going on. And I think that really working with it in that way is going to give you some new insights, which I think would be a lot of fun and interesting. So let's do a quick reading here. It comes with one spread, which is called the Ouija, the Oracle of the Dead. So this is having you keep the suits and things separate. And so I'm going to, but we have to move them out of the way so that we can make this, and you can see, oops, I just closed it. So here is the setup of the, so we're going to first take, so number 1 has us take the 22 major arcana. So this is the major arcana, and it has us shuffle them and place 5 cards, A, B, C, D, and E. So let's go ahead and do that here. I like low Scarabeo cardstock. I think it shuffles well. I don't really have any issue with it. So here we have A, B, C, and of course these are all going to be major arcana because Let's see, how far down can I come? Because that's what we're pulling from. Let me make sure I put it in the right space. A, B, C, D up here, and E over here. We're probably going to have to adjust that. And this is my birth card. I like to see when things that are connected with me come up in a first reading with a deck. So then the next one, take the other 4 decks formed by the minor arcana and mix them separately, pulling 1 card. So that's where we're going to be F, G, H, and I across. And so the first one is, F is going to be the cups, and that is going to, of course, represent our state of our emotional center. Let's see, can I pull this down further? Yes. And we can move these up here, maybe, and kind of work things in a little bit to fit. I can even probably put them further out this way. So we're going to pull from the cups, and then this would give us our state of our emotions. It's a really nice, comfortable, normal size, of course, because I just a few in the cups. I can't see myself doing this very often because I don't really generally like to have to sit and separate out a deck, but maybe I'll end up really loving it. So I'm looking for my emotional state. Here we have the 8 of Cups. That is certainly appropriate to the moment. Time for a reflection there. I really love that card a lot. Okay, wait, let's see. Now, that was the 8. The second one is for Pentacles. Represent the state of our material center. Pentacles. Let me go a couple little. A precarious situation. It could stabilize, right? But it's going deep in that. I love the introspective look. It's that kind of going on a journey of introspection. I really love that card. Here we have the Pentacles, the 10, that sense of completion, needing to rise up above that. Love it. Okay, put that over here. The next one is the Swords, of course, our mental center. And obviously you could do this same spread with the deck all split together, but this just kind of goes more directly. The Page, learning some new things here. And then obviously finally we end with Wands and that creative space. And the 8's time to grab hold of some creative energy there. So these positions here, I don't even think I said that. This represents the past. This represents the present situation. This represents the future situation. I love Justice here. Kind of being able to see clearly. The present, understanding everything is act now because you have everything that you need. And I love that sort of that introspection and that diving into the waters of the High Priestess for past things. This is all very applicable for me. And then E or D over here represents what is to our advantage and strong points, and these are some weak points here. So obviously this would be something that would be read in shadow. So I actually quite like this spread. Again, I think you could do the same positions with just without breaking the cards down into their different suits. But I do think it could be well worth doing it because because you're getting that specifically from each of the suits, and where on that path, because it's showing this continuum, where on that continuum are you at? So I think that's really gorgeous. I'm really, really pleased with this deck. Let me slide this down here and then combine together and see how they shuffle. Okay, I had to get a picture of that reading because I actually have a lot of brought up some interesting personal things that I want to explore further, and I've set those cards aside, and I had to pull out my lovely Edgar to say hello. But I have to say I am really pleased with this beautiful deck. I quite like what they're doing here. I like that it's something different and there's some new perspectives. It shuffles really beautifully. I have all the cards here except for the ones in the reading because I want to put them back up to mull over them a little bit later. I like the cardstock. Again, I'm a fan of Los Scarabeo cardstock. So yeah, this has been a really pleasant surprise. I'm really pleased with this deck. I like that it's doing something different here. I like that it's recognizable. I don't think somebody who was really followed strictly the Rider-Waite-Smith would have a difficulty kind of seeing the, I don't know. I don't know, but numerologically and staying within the progression of the suits, I think it's really doing something neat here, and I'm quite pleased with it. So there you go. That's my first look at the Santa Muerte Tarot. I believe it's really, really neat. Neat little deck there. I'm really glad that I picked it up. And I hope that you have enjoyed this walkthrough. I will, of course, get back with you as I work with it more and let you know what I think about it. But I'm really pleased with it. So there you go. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.